What?
Sure.
Pledge of allegiance.
Here we go. We lost the flag. Oh, we got the echo on again.
Do we technically need a flag to do the pledge? I don't.
Mm-hmm. No.
Oh, it's right here.
Oh, there we go.
You can hold it.
You can do a color guard. You can be a color guard.
Almost perfect timing.
You know the military, they stop and then they slowly lower it down,
I can
right?
also put it.
Was that the thing?
Great, think of it.
Mark, you wanna help me with this?
Yeah, sure.
Hold on, Amy, you. What's that big speaker? We just need the computer.
That one, it's over, speakers down here.
There we go. That should do it. Okay, we're good. We have to wait 5 minutes.
No, we're not good. One second.
Hello?
You might go.
Can you hear us?
Oh, wow, I see where.
He did it from over there last week.
It's over here, it's not this.
Yeah.
He says it's failing to connect to the microphone at all, so. Kind of comes from there.
Where's the speaker? Where's this coming from? You still have that speaker that's in there?
It's there.
Is it on?
Yeah, that should be connected.
But we don't want audio coming through right now. We're gonna figure it out again.
Get all this feedback, I don't know what we did differently last week, but. That ain't saying it all.
Yeah, there's no spreadsheet here. There's no input, there's no input from this computer. The report.
On them, so that's not playing out the speaker.
Kevin, say what you said to me.
I thought I did that before we left, like, Turner and I checked it before I left.
It's turning off all of the
Volume,
Mute it?
They're currently.
is that what he needs to do?
Are you trying to mute like?
Everything here is muted. I want no sound coming.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, if you go up there.
Yeah, it is, everything's, as far as I can tell, there is no input from this machine.
Was it now? But it's still echoes.
That was fast.
So why is this on Zoom? Why does this need to be on Zoom? Why can't that be done? on the computer?
Because that's broadcast.
So this is a two-way feed, whereas that's one way. That's broadcast, this is. Speak to.
Oh.
This is-
Yeah.
Or it's good, it turned,
What?
like, it just worked for us.
No, we checked it, I don't.
Go to the main computer and mute the YouTube, see if the YouTube has sound coming out of it. Mute it.
That would be more logical. Absolutely. There you go, try that. Testing, testing.
I think that's it.
Figured it out?
YouTube was not muted.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's good.
That's why the long delay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Can they still hear us on their end?
Christine, can you hear us? Is she on there?
Well, he could hear us.
Devin,
He's
can
on-
you hear us?
Devin, you're on Zoom, right?
If that's any constellation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. Good.
Okay. Pledge of allegiance. And restart, ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll start with roll call. Me here, Daniel absent, Christine,
Christine? Christine?
Who was on there?
Yeah, she
We'll-
was.
We'll come back to this.
Okay.
To her. Judy,
Present?
Dr. Caseta, absent, Mr. Ham,
Present.
Mark,
Here.
Ms. Miller, here, Langston and Sophia. And Devin, you're on Zoom, right?
And the owl's not moving, so I wonder, did we undo?
No, it's just going with the people that are speaking. See,
Is Devin on?
yeah, but he's, yeah.
Okay, all right, so,
Christine, Christine, are you,
Maybe she just stepped away
did
from.
we lose her?
Can we
I
see?
I think what happened with Christine is the same thing that happened with me. When you guys changed the setting on the YouTube for whatever, all my sound dropped. So I
oh
had
yeah,
to,
she
I
she
couldn't
said
hear
she
you do anything. So I had to get out and come back in order to hear it again. So my guess is she's in a similar boat.
Yeah, we need her to be able to speak.
So now what did you do? So that, can you repeat that?
He
So that
left and
Christine-
came back in.
Yeah, I just exited it out and came back in. There's just no sound after that for some reason.
So to be specific, you exited Zoom and came back? Okay, just so that she can know exactly what she needs to do.
This message she's in.
Okay, she just.
Sorry, Christine, can you hear us? Christine? Yes, she can hear us. She's here. We're just gonna figure out how to get her to speak while we continue.
Okay.
Okay, any public comments?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Great, fantastic. I'm here. Thank you for your patience. I had to log out and log back in as well, and I was afraid that it wouldn't let me back in. Okay. Thanks.
All right.
So public comment?
Oh,
We have one.
oh, did you?
Yeah,
was
she
it-
has a slip.
You got a slip? Good.
I mean, I think it's maybe treated for that. No, it's not needed.
Oh, it's all right. It'll work for today.
Yes.
Okay, you can.
I don't know if you
Go ahead,
Yeah.
yes.
had a process
No.
versus first time I've spoken, so. So on, the questions that I would like to raise would be, first, curiosity on options for students, who have had their field trips, revoked and what, rehabilitation options will be available to them to be able to get those reinstated. According to the handbook, there are policies in place as far as what those procedural things should be, and I'm just kind of curious what guidelines we can be given or can be discussed in regards to how we could move towards making sure that the students who are no longer currently participating in their field trip have the opportunity to work towards showing why they should be able to have that reinstated. And then my second agenda that I would like to raise would be in regards to recent events with circling around some restrictions as far as the bathrooms. I'd like to understand a little bit more of the policies surrounding why that was something that was brought to the attention of the class, as far as the 8th grade class, and what circumstances created that and how we're supposed to be proceeding, as it does seem to violate some school-related instances on how we should be handling those types of situations. So both of those are listed on the form, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. And just so you know, we heard everything, we just can't respond, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Okay, any other public comments? Okay, moving on. Board member comments, correspondence? Nope, great. All right. Christine, you can hear us, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Reports, presentations. We don't seem to have any. Or no, we do have some. It's Sophia and Langston first.
First
first thing, I feel like we asked this every meeting, I know over break, it was, we were told that the rock slide was gonna get cleaned up, that's still pretty much a lot of it's out there. Is there any update when that will be totally?
Devin, can you provide an update on the rock slide situation?
Yeah, so they came out in December when we were on break, and apparently what they did, I was told they were going to fix it, but when they came out, they took some sort of deep sample of the soil because they had to identify all the different soils so they could select the proper retaining wall depending on what kind of soil. That's what I was told. So when they came out, they were only here about 2 hours. They took the soil sample. And when I asked them probably last week what the update was on it, I think it was either last week or the tail end of the week before, they said that they were waiting back from them to identify the soils so they could start with the retaining wall. So that's the update I got.
And whoever's in charge of this, they understand that it's a safety hazard, especially considering rainy season's coming up.
Yeah, it is our leasing office, and they are at this point, the city is part of the process, and they're checking all the boxes on the speed and efficiency, so, according to the city. So there isn't really much from our end that can be done.
Is it the city doing the soils testing?
No, the private company that's fixing the retaining wall is doing the soil testing.
And do we know if that's a mandatory part of the process in order to fix it? It is.
I don't know if it's a mandatory part of the process, but the city checked it off as one of the things that they were happy that they did. So I assume it was part of that process.
Yeah, it matters what the density is, what the water retention levels are, that sort of thing for building it out.
Okay.
So our next point was on updated playground equipment. They wanted to know, students from around school wanted to know if there were gonna be any updates to the playground. Is that any possibility or?
I know that's the equipment and more balls,
Yeah.
soccer, basketball. You guys have been asking for them for a while, I
Yeah,
think
we
even
received
since
some
last.
soccer balls.
Oh, you guys
Got
did.
soccer balls?
Yeah,
What else were you-
Kentucky has a mass amount of soccer balls in the closet. I just was in there on Friday.
Yeah, there's soccer balls, but I think we only have 1 or 2 footballs now. And there's only like 4 basketballs.
So you guys need more footballs and basketballs and everything else you guys feel like you have enough of?
Maybe a few more wicker balls, like the little plastic balls.
Okay, and our final part kind of goes into that. I know the kindergarten and first grade teachers have been petitioning for like, like play food, that kind of thing for the kinder playground. Cause they said they don't have that much stuff out there for the kids. And so that was just something that they wanted to get, like, like play food and stuff. I think they've been asking for that for a while. Like they have like the toy kitchen, like the play food.
Oh.
And specifically
Okay.
play food?
That was something that they specifically brought up, but I think that was just an example.
Did they
have
say
a
what?
kitchen,
They
like
just-
there's a kitchen, play kitchen, so I think food for the play kitchen.
So what are we talking about? Like bread and
I think you just buy it on Amazon.
Yeah, it's like a
burgers
set,
and?
it's like a
Yeah.
set with
Devin
like
had an
dishes.
update, I thought he said there were like boxes of something that they just need to look through. Devin, you know that answer?
There's some new stuff in the kindergarten area that has been donated to us that needs to be sorted through and, pushed out accordingly. But that's all update I have on that one.
And Devin, does that fall under supplies for the classroom or is that extra?
It's extra.
So it's not a supply thing like pencils would be for.
Correct.
Okay.
This falls under a different category that would be equivalent to like play equipment and stuff like that.
Okay, I was just asking because I would think in kinder play, like toys is part of their learning and curriculum, which would be like having a pencil in middle school.
Sure, your reasoning makes sense. It's just not how the auditing goes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right.
One question. On the footballs and the basketballs, how many is reasonable to have? How many do you need? How many would get used?
For the footballs, maybe like 2 or 3 more. And
Okay.
Basketballs, probably about the same, 2 or 3 more.
Okay,
And Devin, that falls under,
I
play.
believe Coach Clackey has footballs as well, but I need to check that one.
All right.
And does that sport equipment fall under PE supply list, or is that labeled play as well?
It depends on what we're purchasing it for. If we purchase it for PE, it's considered classroom equipment. If we purchase it for outside play, then it falls under the other category.
And they don't mix the two?
I mean,
Like what's PE can't be used during lunch or?
sure,
Yeah.
it can, but for auditing purposes, we got to define where those things go and according.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, you guys. Financial report by Janina.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
hello.
Hi.
Not used to seeing you this early.
I know it is early. Right. Can everyone see my screen okay? Sorry, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
looks good.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. All right. So this evening I am presenting the monthly financial board report as of the last closed month of December. So this report is compared to our last board approved budget, which took place at first interim, which was on December 4th, 2024. And this was based on a budgeted enrollment count of 197 students with a budgeted ADA of 185. The budgeted net deficit for the year in this report is $848,000. So just as a side note, the budget will be positively and negatively impacted depending upon the school's final ADA number. And we won't know this number until mid to late April of 2025. And the average value for one ADA is about $15,000. So as the ADA comes in short by one, that would be 15,000. If it comes in positive by one, that's about 15,000. So just keeping that in mind. The year-to-date revenues through December 31st, 2024 are $996,965, which is 5.3% under what we currently had budgeted for this period of time. And this is mainly due to the timing of when federal SPED and local funds were expected to be received. So this isn't necessarily a loss in revenue at this time. However, given the school's new budgeted deficit, we definitely will be close monitoring this. So as a side note, also with revenues, is that we have $579,000 budgeted, which is based around restricted funding. So the school has to ensure that they're able to meet the compliance requirements to earn these funds. And if the school is unable to meet the requirements to spend down those funds, then that would have a negative impact on the budget for this year.
Can I interrupt for a second? Where are those restrictions, or those requirements posted? Where do we look to see that?
So that's actually something that I work on with Devin on a monthly basis. And we actually just had our mid-year expenses where we looked at where we're at about halfway through the year and seeing if we can spend down those funds. So that's something that Devin and I work on closely on a monthly basis.
Okay.
And is that something you guys feel you are we on track with that spending?
So we did, as I mentioned, we did have our monthly meeting and our halfway point for the December restricted funds. And so there are plans in place to spend down the funds for the duration of this fiscal year. So to answer your question, yes.
Excellent, thank you.
Good.
All right, so let's see here. Next thing, we have the year-to-date revenues through December 31st, 2024, which are $1,760,852, which is 2.6% under what we currently had budgeted. And this is mainly due to salaries coming in favorably. Although expenses are favorable in the month of December, it is important to note that the school is over budget in software and software licensing for the year by $26,401. And so this was something that we talked about previously, and Devin had mentioned that the school had purchased some new software. And so that was the reason for going over budget. So the
Devin, sorry to interrupt again. Devin, what software was that? I don't recall. He's driving, so. Okay.
Mark, so last time we talked, it was the couple things I cited. We had gotten Rocket Math for math, and we had purchased an ELA program. So they were in the core academic instructional areas that were needed for our kids. There was just some things we were responding to from what we were seeing in our data.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, Danita.
That's okay. All right, so let's see. So the above is not necessarily a savings at this time, as various expense categories may increase over the next few months. So therefore, this is also something that we will continue to monitor. So therefore, the net deficit is $763,000 at the end of December, which is 1.1% over our current budget. So one other thing that I wanted to also bring forth to the board is cash flow. So given the school's large budgeted deficit for this year, the school is going to have some months where the cash flow is low, and therefore they might require some financing. And so this is especially crucial when it comes to payments to vendors and making payroll. And so it would be in the best interest of the school to plan accordingly with reaching out to those lenders. So I actually had a meeting that I organized with Devin and a organization that factors receivables. So what that means is that the school basically is receiving LCFF funds, and this company, they front you the LCFF funds that you are to receive, with taking a small portion back. And so this would obviously help a school when cash flow does get tight. So the only thing with that, and this was something that we brought up in the meeting, is that with working with an organization such as this, they want to see the financial stability of the school in the multi-year projections, so the future years. So that's something that Devin and I are working on, so that we can be a candidate for this type of work with that organization. All right. So here we have the financial snapshot, and I will go ahead and just go into the actual to budget summary here. So you'll see we have the total budget column. The total budget column is the budget that the board last approved at first interim. So you will see we are looking at that deficit of $847,000. And then moving on over to our actual column, these are the actual revenues and actual expenditures that have come in from July to December. So we are looking at a net deficit of $763,000 at the end of December. And then the budget column, this is what we budgeted for revenues and expenditures. We are looking about a deficit of $755,000. So we were off by about $8,000 for the month of December. All right, so here we are. We're looking at the monthly cash balance over time. So as I mentioned on that summary slide, you'll see that the cash is definitely going to be dwindling down towards the progression of this year. And that's mainly due to just expenses staying steady with not enough revenue coming in. So as I mentioned, you know, working with that organization.
Janina, what's our monthly burn in general?
I'm sorry, what's the monthly what?
Burn, the general expense outflow in a month.
Let me pull up the budget to get that number for you. Bear with me.
So this.
All right. So with payroll and all other expenses in your 4,000, 5,000 series, we're looking at about $300,000 a month.
Okay. So we don't really hit a low point until May. So we got till May to get some cash in the door. Does that sound right? 300.
Okay.
Sorry, I am going back here. So the point that I, you know, was recommending to Devin in the organization that we were talking to today was about the March timeframe. So even though, you know, we're starting to dwindle down here, I was factoring in when we have payrolls and, you know, revenue coming in, that's where it's going to start to get really tight with cash. And so when working with this organization, it's going to take them about a month to get us the money. So we would have to start working with them in February if we wanted to start receiving those funds in March.
Okay.
And Janina, I also wanted to follow up on, though, as we've discussed in prior meetings, that our monthly expenses aren't regular. In other words, we have sort of peak and low periods. How is that factoring into all of this consideration? Now, is our peak spending at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, January, preparing for next year? Sort of, how are we preparing for that as well?
Yes, I do recall that question. And so what ends up happening every time that we have a budget revision, it's the start of a new slate, right? So you had your original budget at the beginning of the year. And so that is when we saw those peaks. But then when we had the first interim budget revision, it's taking into account all of your actuals from July to October. So at that point, we are, how do I say it? Like streamlining the budget in comparison to our actuals. So that's a hard question to answer because essentially we have a moving target because we're no longer looking at the budget that we had at the beginning of the year. The budget at the beginning of the year had a much lower deficit compared to the budget that we are looking at today.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, so let's see. Here we are looking at the balance sheet at the end of December. So you will see total assets at 1.3 million. We have total liabilities at 916,000. And then that brings us to our total net assets of $466,000. All right, so here's our charter school support team and our contact information. And then our looking ahead is just some compliance pieces that I work on with Devin. All right, and so that concludes my presentation for this evening, unless there's any additional questions that I can answer for the board at this time.
Just confirming, we do the check registers with her own phone, with Jenny, right?
No.
I thought we do.
The check register.
We have started to do that.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, just because
So-
remember Devin had suggested that she might have some answers.
Yeah. So
Okay.
question on that, why are we still, at the last board meeting, we brought up the issue about payroll showing up on these? And you said that you would look into it. Do we have an answer as to why payroll is coming up on these when Josh had told us that, I think only, and Devin confirmed that only 2 or so people are getting, actual checks?
Yes, so I went into Intact, which is our accounting software, and I realized that it's one box that I did not check or uncheck for that matter. And so it was including all the reconciliations. So when there were accounting mistakes or things of that essence, when I ran that report, the board was seeing everything. And so I have made it a personal note to make sure that that box is not selected moving forward, so that it's only showing items that are actual checks, actual checks that are through AP. So those that would be paying your vendors, not necessarily your payroll checks.
All right, good. So next month we won't see that.
Nope, I actually have the December check register here and it is ready for the board's review. So I will share my screen. All right. And can you see my screen okay?
Make it a little bigger.
A little bigger.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
There you go. That's good.
Thank you.
You guys see that?
This is the rerun numbers, or these
No,
are the
this
same
is-
numbers that we're looking at?
This is December.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same stuff. She hasn't checked the box for a new report yet.
Okay.
So we have November too,
Mhm.
by the way.
Yeah, so anybody have any questions on any of that?
Yeah, I do. You said that our total monthly spend is around 300. But the check register, like for December, for example, we're only showing 278. Where is the rest of that money being spent out of? It's not on here.
So when we're looking at the check register, you have to keep in mind, this is just for AP. That's not
Right.
accounting for payroll.
But I thought you said the payroll was mistakenly showing up here.
A category of payroll.
Okay, only a
showing
category.
Reconciliation.
Oh, just the reconciliation.
Yeah.
She did say
And
that.
a couple
Thank you.
people that are getting checks.
Okay,
Yeah,
so the rest of payroll was the balance.
right.
Okay.
And so the school, like a corporate card for the school, is that where? Do we know where that expense is?
Is it used? Do we use a corporate card? Devin, do you know, do we use a corporate card? I imagine it would show.
Sorry, it takes me forever to get unmuted. Can you repeat the question?
Do we have a corporate card and where do those expenses show? Because they wouldn't be in the check register, right?
We do have a corporate card. It's, I would say rarely used, but I don't know where those exactly show up. That would be a question for Janina as far as where they show up on the thing.
I can answer that for you, Devin. So basically what it is that when our accounting team receives the expenses on a card, basically it is a allocation, and we need to know in the accounting team side where all of those are going. So that mainly, I would assume, would be in the 4,000s, 5,000 series. And so it's going to show up in the budget in the 4,000s and 5,000s based on the purchases that are made. And those purchases could vary in the 4,000s and 5,000s. The only way that we know on the accounting side is based on what the information that's given to us by the school.
And now when you say the 4,000s and 5,000s, what category is that?
Oh, yes, sorry. Books and supplies is the 4,000s, and then services and other operating expenditures is the 5,000s.
Okay, great. And obviously then a lot of that also is here on the check register then.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
I said then obviously a lot of those expenses in those categories are also on the check register.
Those would not be on the check register
They're not on here.
So there's no books and
because it's not a
supplies?
check.
No, but I'm saying that that are fall into the category of either books and supplies or whatever the other thing.
Yeah, we don't see that.
Correct. So that check register is just a register that shows you these items. I'm sorry, that these checks were cut. It's not going to, that report's not going to show you that it was for, you know, materials and supplies, which is 4,300. That's just for the board to see that checks were cut to a specific vendor.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying that the check register categorizes these expenses. I'm saying that many of the expenses that appear on the check register seem to also fall within those two categories that you referenced.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
This random question, Helen, the Woodward Animal Center, was that a donation?
Or was that a field trip? That was my guess.
yeah.
On the field trip, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Was that question for me?
No.
Well, Ms. Miller answered. Okay, any questions for Janina? Ms. Miller, questions? No. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Janina.
Have a great night.
Christine, do you have questions?
Oh, she replied up if she hasn't. Yeah.
All right.
He's online, right? David Graves?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sure can.
Okay, great. And so I'm assuming that I'm up.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. And I trust that you all received your audit reports, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I've got a copy of it myself here, so I'll just present the report. Good evening, first of all, or afternoon. Well, so the purpose of this is the reports were already sent to the state controller, the California Department of Education, oversight agencies, etc. The report, according to OTA's bylaws and governing rules, is that the board receives the report and preferably before being submitted to the state controller. That quite didn't happen, but you know, here it is to present to you at this time. But it's not actually a state law. But it can be an internal law that, I mean, it can be an internal regulation that and I believe that's at least been your practice, is normally you like it to go to the board before going to the state. It's not technically state law, but it can be your law. And so we'll do everything we can to honor that. We just ran into some hurdles. I believe the first one that I was scheduled at, the board had meeting, it got canceled, and then the next one that I went to that I did make it also got canceled. So there was just some logistics issues this year, but anyways, so here's the report. the first thing that I'd like to go over with you is the independent auditor's report. That's going to be on page 1. And this is the report on financial statements. Basically, the only parts of this report that I own is the opinion letters within the report. Everything else is management's representation. And so I go through and I do the audit of management's representation, and then I express an opinion. And so this first letter is my opinion on the financial statements. On this letter, I issued a unmodified opinion, meaning that I agree with. I'm basically saying that the financial statements are fairly stated, and I'm providing reasonable assurance to the users of the financial statements, the board, oversight agencies, the state, the CDE. I'm providing reasonable assurance that the financial statements are fairly stated, and I'm giving an unmodified opinion, and that's the opinion that you would want, and based on the evidence I saw, that's the opinion I gave. So that's the first opinion, and then the first financial statement is the balance sheet, and that's on page 3, and that basically shows. So some of the highlights of that is cash at June 30th, 2024 was rounded up to 1.5 million. There was $183,959 owed. 13,744 in prepaid expenses, meaning that you put the cash out, but they're not being expensed yet. And then deposits on the facility, the capital assets, that's your assets that basically are being depreciated. You paid cash for them in a previous year, and the expense is being recognized over a certain period of time, depending on what the asset is. So the net amount of assets of 301,150, etc. Then the next part of the balance sheet is the liabilities. What do you owe at year end? And at the end, I'll accept any questions that the board might have. But the next page is the statement of activities. It basically shows your revenues and your expenses. The expenses side of things, right there is just 2 categories: instruction, and then management, people services, and then management general. So 3 categories. But then those are broken out in another page, those expenses, with more detail, and we'll go over that. But the revenue, $3,652,295 in 23-24 fiscal year. And in case anyone doesn't know, the fiscal year is July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. That's the period of time that's covered in the statement of activities. There's a statement of cash flows, which reconciles, there was a change in net assets. Your equity position increased by $4,100 some. And then it just kind of reconciles and shows that what the cash was at the beginning and end of the year. You ended the year with 1.4 million, 1,470,000. You began the year with 1,409,691. And then the next page is that detail I was telling you about with expenses. It kind of just breaks out. Instead of just showing like what are instructional expenses, it shows what those are: certificated salaries, non-certificated salaries, pension plan contributions, payroll taxes, other employee benefits, books and supplies, insurance, facilities, professional services, depreciation, payments to authorized agency, and other operating expenses. So it just kind of breaks it down between the program and management in general. And then the next part are the notes to the financial statements. Again, if you have questions about any of this, if you had already kind of read through it, just let me know at the end of the presentation. But that's what the notes are. The notes are about the financial statements and just kind of goes into more detail about those different categories. And then at the end of the notes, there's a supplementary section that breaks down what your average daily attendance was for 23-24. And your P2, which is the period by which you're funded on, your ADA was 182.29. And then the next page is instructional minutes. You guys complied with the instructional minutes. You had enough instructional minutes throughout the year. In the 178 days you offered instruction to meet compliance. That's on page 20. And then on page 21, there was a very minor audit adjustment, increasing your equity by a small amount of $864. And then probably the next important thing to go over would be, on page 24, it just shows your organizational structure. And then the next opinion letter, the last one was the opinion on the financial statements. This is a report, not an opinion, but a report on internal control. Internal controls are your policies and procedures, business procedures. And so making sure, one of the things that I look at, I inquire of management, I perform tests. I want to make sure that there's adequate segregation of duties. So for instance, with cash, where is the cash? Is it in a bank? Who has the authority to approve checks? Who is recording? Is that person that records the transaction separate from the person that authorizes the transaction? Things like that. That's what internal controls are all about. So making sure there's adequate segregation of duties. And so I looked at that. Nothing came to my attention that I needed to report that there were any deficiencies in your internal controls. Everything looked good. And so there was nothing to report bad that was going on with internal controls. And then there's a state compliance report, opinion letter that I issued. That's on pages 28 through 30. And in the state compliance report, there again, you received an unmodified opinion. There, it appears that Old Town Academy is complying with state compliance requirements. So like the way you report your attendance, I didn't find any problems with the way that you report your attendance. I didn't find any problems with the numbers that you reported. I looked at attendance records. I looked at whether the signed attendance records by the teachers match what was in the system, for instance. I looked at tardy records to make sure that a student marked tardy was still marked present, things like that. I looked at instructional minutes, making sure you provide enough time in the year. Those are the major things. I looked at after school, the expanded learning opportunity program, making sure that you had a program and that you were in compliance with all the statutes and laws. So that's what the state compliance report is all about. You don't receive any federal funding, or very limited, and so there was no single audit that was required. So there was no opinion letter on federal compliance because you didn't need a single audit. And there were no findings that I found in the audit report. And so the report was favorable, and it was submitted to oversight agencies and the state controller. And that really concludes my presentation of the audit report. Does the board have any questions of me at this time?
I have more of a comment on page 24. That needs to be updated.
Well, this is what was true
June
June last year. This is up to June, the end of the fiscal year.
Oh, I see. Never mind.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns or?
I don't have any. No.
All right. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to present this report and also to have been able to do the audit and enjoy working with your staff, Devin and Melody, just great people and looking forward to continuing those professional relationships and hopefully continuing to serve Old Town Academy as your auditor. Thank you.
Thanks for the work.
Thank you. Okay, teacher report, Ms. Miller.
Hi, everybody. The teachers have had a great start to Q3, easing our way back after winter break with a PD day for teachers on the first Monday back. And a minimum day that week was greatly beneficial to both teachers and students. Teachers appreciated the extra time to prepare for the new quarter, and our SOS meeting on our minimum day discussing specific student needs was highly beneficial to our professional development and student support. Last week, I spent time polling all of our teachers on their preferences with the 2025-2026 calendar. Of the 4 example calendars that Devin introduced to the school board, the staff overwhelmingly voted for the 3rd option. That's going to be the one with the August 18th start date. And the 1st option, which aligns with SDSU, that's the August 11th start date. I want to say every single teacher either picked one of those 2, with the exception of Coach Kalaki, who said after Labor Day. Some factors that were important to teachers when choosing a calendar was that Halloween fell on a minimum day. Conferences were not falling on a major event, aka Halloween, Jogathon, conferences. The amount of weeks each quarter being of equal length. The one with the August 11th start had all equal lengths. The 18th start was closer to equal lengths than the other 2 options. They weren't exact. And then Q2 falling the day before winter break were the main important factors when picking those 2 calendars. So both calendar 1 and 3 had the best criteria for that. When speaking to the teachers on their needs for adding more minimum days to this calendar, as discussed in many school board meetings, teachers said that they would like to move towards minimum days each week with a noon release time. I also spoke to them, each one of them, on what a compromise would look like to try to fill that gap between people that don't want the minimum days and then who want them to be every single Friday. We talked about what that compromise would look like. We talked about a later release day on every Friday, so such as a 1:30 pickup time instead of the noon release would be an ideal compromise. So the teachers are looking at those type of things and not just wanting every noon release, if that was a factor that we could talk about. And yeah, thank you guys for taking time to hear the voice of the teachers. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? I have one. PBL, I know for Q2, we didn't get the normal breakdown of what each class was doing. Do we have one for?
I met with Devin and I told him I would be in charge of doing that. I didn't know we wanted it right now. I can have that for our next school board meeting.
Okay, but before our next meeting, will that information be pushed out to the parents?
I can expedite it. Usually we send it out with the, like each teacher is sending it out with their announcements each week. But then I think last year is when we would send out, when we invite all the parents, like, hey, Q3 exhibition day, here's what you should be expecting to see. So that more towards, I would say, because that's what in March, it's like end of February, and those community announcements, that usually would be sent out.
Okay.
Yeah. But I can make a cute little graphic.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you. Melody.
She's not here. She's not here.
Okay,
But we have the chart.
yeah, so Devin, I think this is The question really was for Melody.
Okay, yeah, you hold on. Okay.
Right, so Devin, just to confirm, our enrollment went from 197 to 194 over break to now.
I know we went from, I know we lost 2 kids. I was aware of us. I was told today about a 3rd kid who was transferring out, but I don't know if that 3rd kid is actually counted in that number right there. That would be a question for Melody. But I do know of 2 kids that left the school over break. They are being homeschooled.
And then, I know these two are being homeschooled, but are we still doing exit interviews for the ones that are leaving?
Yeah, so the 2 that left, I did it on those. That's why I'm saying I actually didn't know there was a 3rd. The one that's leaving, that I just found out was leaving today, I believe is leaving next week sometime. So I'm going to try to find out more about that one too.
Okay, and the past ones, even prior to this month, we've been doing exit interviews for them as well?
Yeah, anytime I'm aware of them, we reach out.
Okay. Any questions?
Or just a comment. I think that's great that we're doing the exit interviews, but maybe we can make sure that, I don't know who is the person that's aware, but that they make you aware, just so that we can make sure we can get those exit interviews so we can use that information. Melody, or I don't know, whoever the person is that can identify when or if a student is leaving.
Yep, I agree. That person is supposed to notify me.
Okay, awesome.
I know we're losing 2 more in like 2 weeks. Their dad's getting stationed in Japan.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so
There's Zoom.
everyone. Devin, I also had a question about the ADA. Cause I know that it's been being reported numbers north of 90, and it says 93% here, but looking at the numbers that were just in that last audit, where they talked about an ADA of 182, and we had numbers at 211. To me, that's an ADA of 86%. So I just, be interested in how that's calculated.
Yeah, so the audit that you looked at was last year's. It was all about last year. It wasn't about this year. So
I know last year, I recall at least that we had similar, I think we were hitting around in the 90s as well, 92, 93% all last year, at least so my understanding was.
Well, we were actually lower last year. That was one of our big pushes this year, get up to 94% this year. We dangled around, I believe, the 91 percentile, which was pretty low historically for us. So we tried to put some things in place this year. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not running the numbers or anything like that. I'm just spitballing my answer here as far as the 86%. That seems lower than any numbers I saw last year. So
I'm surprised to see that in the audit. Sorry to speak over you.
That's okay. So my assumption is it's being calculated off. We weren't at 211 the entire year. So as the ADA actually went up towards the end of last year because we started to put in some practices that we were trying. So my assumption is it kind of leveled out at some point, but I without looking at the stuff and actually knowing, I can't specifically answer that question.
Okay, great. Well, bottom line though is I'm happy that we have such improvement in our ADA, so that's excellent.
Great, me too. I've been excited about it this year.
Devin, Miriam stepped out for a minute.
I told her.
Okay.
If there's no more enrollment questions, though, we could probably move forward. At least with F, Mark.
Yeah, she's coming back.
Okay.
We can restart.
So we were just wrapping up enrollment,
Okay.
unless you have one.
No. Real estate,
Nothing to report.
okay. Board discussions, me. So we do have an action item for approval of appointed board members. We did talk about it in the last, or we did discuss this in what would have been the last board meeting, that we rescheduled to today. So we have Mr. Alvin. You want to present? We have Alvin, he's a parent here. He has two, his son just graduated.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, hi, everybody, I'm Alvin Balthazar. I have, I've been married for 17 years, I have 4 children. 3 of those children have been, OTA students. My son, AJ, he graduated last year, he's in high school now, and then I have an 8th grader. And, he graduated the year before last, now I have an 8th grader, and then I have Cameron is in, 2nd grade, yeah. So no, I'm excited to be here. So a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Houston, Texas, small city if you've never been there before. I grew up in Houston, Texas in 2005. I graduated from Rochelle Sterling Senior High School, and then I enlisted in the United States Navy. So this year, as of August, makes 20 years of active duty service. And I talk about service because not only do I want to serve my country, but I also wanted to do some service within the community and also in the school that my kids currently go to. So a little bit about me as far as like hobbies. I love to fish whenever I can get the time to do so. I was in Hawaii for 15 years, so I love fishing. Public speaking was a really good aspiration of mine. I really enjoy public speaking. And I do enjoy watching, some TV when I do have some downtime. Any 90 Day Fiance fans in here? No, I don't think so. But no, so I just want to come in and introduce myself to try to make a greater impact for everybody. So thank y'all for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we also have Deltrina, which is our current foundation president. She is not here, but you all know her. So. Okay. And that was all I had.
Okay.
So she wants to be an appointed member?
Both of them, yes.
I have no problem with either one of them. It's just that I think you as president should have put word out to the board asking if we had people to be.
We discussed.
We really didn't discuss it. It was mentioned.
So do we know what the procedure is?
So we appoint, we bring, and we have to vote, but we did discuss this. We talked about bringing parents to.
I think he left before that conversation happened last week.
Oh.
But.
Because we did discuss it, because Devin said that he also, suggested his mentor and, but I understand why you're saying that because you had left before the conversation.
Also, I could be wrong about this, but I do think there's a policy that the foundation president has to be the foundation members have to be separate from the school board. I feel like I've read that.
Then you're kind of breaking up, Devin.
So we should check on that before moving forward in that area.
Devin,
Can you repeat that though?
Yeah, you broke up really badly there.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, better now.
Better.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay right now?
Much better.
Somewhere I think I read a policy that said people on the foundation board can't also be on the school board.
Yeah, Devin, can you hear me?
To check that as a policy.
You need to check the policy to see if.
Right, she
Yeah.
wouldn't hold.
Move forward with something. And I apologize, I don't have access like normally to jump on my computer or something.
Yeah, Devin, she wouldn't.
But I
hold
feel like there's a policy to make sure that. Yeah, I can hear you guys fine.
Yeah, you, as soon as you
Well, then
started.
you're having the president from the foundation remove herself mid-year, and that just.
Yeah, they've already had conversations amongst themselves about this, so it's not going to be breaking any policy and she won't be holding both positions. Can you hear me?
Devin, did you move or something?
Okay, I think we all, from my
So she's
understanding.
leaving as president of the foundation.
Correct. So just to make sure we all try to understand what Devin said is his concern about holding both against policy, but that wouldn't be an issue. Okay. So
Do they have someone to replace her?
yes, they're having conversations amongst themselves who would take that position over.
And when is this happening?
When is,
Her resignation and the new person for the foundation?
I don't have the details of what they're doing on the back end, but as soon as if she was appointed to the board, then she would resign from the foundation.
Yeah, that's not the right order.
No, she has to
be free and
resign
clear.
before she could be appointed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are we?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't know if you guys could hear that. That's what I was trying to say earlier.
Okay, I mean, I'm not saying that that's not the policy, but I guess that at least isn't in the
It's not in the
board bylaws or, now it could be a foundation policy, so. That I'm not as familiar.
So I'd say we gotta come up to speed on what the procedure is.
Yeah, for
Okay, so
that.
maybe
Before we can do
put
anything.
Michelle on the back burner and move
Yeah.
forward with.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can't appoint her tonight,
Okay, so we'll hold off on Dell. Okay,
but we're okay with,
yeah, well, we can vote on that.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
I mean, I think that I think in general, there is a concern, that we just want to expand membership to help to meet some needs of expertise.
Now, keep in mind, we add a person that ups the quorum,
Correct.
and we have 2 inactive directors.
Well, I think that the goal was to try to increase the number of active directors. I
Right.
mean, that's what I
Well,
thought.
the quorum goes back down if we have inactive directors that are no longer directors.
So if we add 2 or 1 more person, is that going to bump us up to 6?
With our current count, yeah.
Well, I think if we understand that we need to make sure that we have the address posted, we won't run into that issue.
I think that was the problem. Is that we didn't know we had to do that. Because we weren't following. Okay, Devin, Dell's not here. So we're gonna skip.
No parent foundation board.
No. Devin, principal report?
I think we may have lost him.
No, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the principal's report, didn't have a lot this month. Just wanted to give the update on the land side, which I was able to do earlier. On December 30th, Pacifica sent surveyors out to take a sample of the dirt to ensure that they could build a retaining wall in the future. It is my understanding from what I was told even prior to this was the last step, but my understanding was they were doing it at that time. So this is supposedly the last step. The city of San Diego is involved and they're pushing the process as fast as possible. So just a quick update on that. 25-26 enrollment. On January 29th, OTA will open up the 2025-26 enrollment. Re-enrollment for current students will close February 12th. In addition to that, open enrollment will stay open until March 27th when we have the lottery of our new students. So just wanted to give a quick update on that. as far as the calendar options, there are 4 rough drafts of calendar options that were put back in front of you. This is just a carryover from last month. I believe the teachers spoke on where their options sat. So nothing new as far as that goes. And then the only thing I'm asking for being voted on today is just to approve our SARC, the School Accountability Report Card. It's an annual document that has to be passed by the board. And once it's passed, we post it on our website and kind of certify it with the state. So this is the SARC it should be in your packet, and it's all the created information that is, again, just our student accountability report card. It's what the kind of what the grades we get from the state on what we're doing, whether it's academics or attendance or suspensions, all those things.
You can have a copy of that. Was it up there?
It's up here.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's as far as my board report. That's all I had, and I do apologize for not being there tonight.
You knew that was gonna happen.
Appreciate that, Mark.
Yeah. Plan.
Did everybody get a copy of this?
Yeah, we got this last week. Yeah,
We got it a week ago.
yeah,
This is the SARC.
right. This is
Yeah.
our,
We've had that.
yeah,
This was sent out in the original board packet for even last week, so, even last week's meeting. So you guys should have had it almost 2 weeks now.
Yep,
yep. I don't have any questions in it. I read it last week.
this was from 23-24.
And then I have a question. Is SARC now back in your purview, or is it still you, Mr. Watts? Didn't you? LCAP was you. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, the SARC is not really, to be 100% honest, it's not really in anybody's privy. It's a state mandated thing. The state actually creates most of the reports for us. It just issues this and mandates us to have the board view it, approve it, and post it on the website.
So this is like a grade, I mean.
More demographics.
It's something like that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It gives it like a color code of where we fall and different things like that. It's not our dashboard. Our dashboard is separate, but a lot of the information is carryover.
Okay.
I move to approve.
Yep, that's in the consent.
Oh.
Number 5.
Okay,
We
next,
vote on
that's right,
it.
it's on the
Yeah.
consent. You all at once. Okay,
You're ahead of us.
Yes.
all right. Used to doing things one at a time.
I did go pretty quick through my report. Again, I apologize, kind of in the car as I'm driving, but were there any questions in any of the A, B, C, or D?
Yeah, Devin, I have a question on your printed out report. The middle school dance, is that a school function or a foundation function?
Foundation.
Okay, so supervising students will fall on the foundation.
Well, yes. Historically, since I've been there, the dance has has kind of fallen on the foundation. But just as incidents that happen at the dance, we still deal with them at school if they're something that we need to be a part of. So a student can be disciplined for their actions at the middle school dance, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. And then is that kind of like the field trip where it's open to everybody regardless of grades, behavior, and things like that?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that. The field trip is not given to everybody because of grades and because of behavior and because of.
Is the dance the same, falls under the same guidelines?
Because it's a foundation thing, it does have different guidelines.
Okay.
In my 5 years, we haven't taken it away from anybody.
At all?
No. That's what a foundation led thing, so we let everybody participate.
Okay. And then, Devin, do you have the plan that we discussed for the budget? that we discussed at the last board meeting? You were gonna present a plan to the board on the budget?
I have started to put together a plan. I don't have something to present. I actually thought it was going to be discussed at a different time tonight.
At a different time tonight?
So
Yeah.
you need agendized separately perhaps?
So yeah, so let's let it.
Agendized
Yeah.
separately, and
Yeah.
since we didn't agendize it separately.
Correct.
You mean as individual items?
It
Yeah,
needs to be on the agenda, yeah.
since it wasn't.
So let's move on.
Okay, so can we make sure to add that to the next agenda, because we need to get that and we need to
Well,
figure something.
you're in charge of it.
Okay, so Devin, can you make sure you ask Melody to add that to the next agenda?
Yep.
Thank you. All right, and just to understand this correctly, you're saying that if it's not individually listed out here, we cannot discuss it?
No, what I was saying, I don't know what Mark was saying, is I'm just saying that I think that's what Devin was saying.
The whole point of an agenda is, this is what we're talking about, and that wasn't on the agenda.
But I think that I'll put it like this, I too thought that that was going to be part of Devin's principal report, but I'm saying is, I just translating what I thought he was saying, since we were having trouble
Right,
with
just
it.
like my board discussion, I don't itemize every topic that I talk about, it's just.
I have to though. I have to itemize every item that I talk about. That's the
That
law.
should be what happens, yeah. So the board knows what we're getting into in a board meeting. That's the whole point of an agenda.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, that's a major discussion, right? That's not a, oh,
Well,
this time,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, that's not a, oh, by the way, and then move on.
right, because it's such a major issue, I would have thought that we would discuss it
Okay.
sooner rather than later.
Well, the time to do that is when you're building.
Gotta
the
make
agenda.
sure it's on the agenda.
Mhm.
Okay,
And I just want to state that I actually don't agree with that, but I'm saying, I was just saying that that's what I thought that Devin was referring to, that's all. Not that I was saying that we needed to have it be a separate item on the agenda, but just that maybe perhaps he wasn't prepared with that because it wasn't. But I do think that it could have been perfectly appropriate to be a part of the principal's report.
If it's on the agenda and the board has a chance to prepare itself to have the discussion.
so Devin, for moving forward, when there's like this budget report, when the board asks to present it for have it prepared at the next meeting, can you take that as your action item to make sure it's added to the agenda? So it's not something that.
Well, you have to approve the agenda
Right, which
before
I
it goes to
do,
the
but
board.
it's not
So
something I mean, that's an action item.
There's two pieces.
I don't hear what you're saying. What I'm
There's
asking
two
is
pieces.
that,
The first is I want you to read your text messages from me.
yeah, Devin, you're going cyborg on us here. You're all broken up. Anyway,
Can
the
you
point
guys
is
hear okay
that,
now?
that the board needs to know what the agenda is going to be so that we can be prepared to have the discussion that's on the agenda.
okay, we can
So,
move on from this one then.
Yeah, the chair's in charge of the agenda.
Okay. Right, but I mean, at some point I should be able to say, if somebody gives me an action item, I would take accountability to add that to the agenda.
So that's what you do before the meeting, 3 days before.
Right, but that's not my action item.
No, that's yours. You're in charge of the agenda. It's your job to
In
do the
partnership.
agenda. No,
Yes.
it's your job to do the agenda.
Per our bylaws, it's a partnership between the principal executive director and the board president.
And I think, again, because I don't think that this is something that we need to be arguing about, is I think that what my view of what is being discussed is just, we're suggesting that everyone take accountability for adding their own action items to the agenda. And then also everyone take accountability for reviewing the agenda prior to the meeting. So I think there's shared responsibility, and we all together try to put together the agenda with what
And that's,
any of us remember or think that should be
and
on
that's
it. I don't-
exactly what I was saying. We each hold our own responsibility between Devin and myself to add our own action items, just like I put approval of appointed board member, updated the agenda. That's why it was sent out twice, because that was my action item as discussed. So the agenda is a shared responsibility, but moving forward, I don't know if Devin can, I'll tell him later, but, okay. Any questions on Devin's report?
No.
No, all right. Okay, we'll move to do a consent, approval for 1 through 8, which it includes regular, and I'm gonna read these out loud for the meeting minutes. Regular November board meeting minutes, December board meeting minutes, October check register, November. No, we don't have October. We had November and December.
There were 3.
I have 3 of them.
We have January,
Did we?
we have,
How did we already have January? There were 3. So maybe we had January to date?
created on. I see.
Yeah, it's October, November, December.
Okay, it is October, November, December.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
so
was
this is
just,
correct.
the October one's created on November.
Oh, I
No,
see.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so October, November, December check register, the FARC approval of the audits for 23-24 and approval of appointed board member. Okay, so we will.
I move to pass those items.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Christine, if there's somebody on Zoom, we're supposed to do roll call. Christine, are you there?
There was a noise, so I wonder if that was her trying to communicate. Did everyone hear the beep? I mean, we
Hold on, I
obviously
was
hear her.
texting with her. Christine, are you on? Do we need her to vote to approve this?
Oh, we have a quorum here.
Oh, she's here. She says she's, Christine, can you hear us?
She's currently unmuted. She just put in the messenger for the Zoom that yes, she's here.
We need her actual vote too.
Well, it said yes.
Okay, so
Was
she
that
can
her-
vote via Zoom.
Well, there's a quorum here already,
Okay,
so
but I'm saying if she's here and she wants to
What does it
vote,
say,
she
Miriam?
can, since we can see her
Can you
vote.
say what-
I can hear you.
Okay, so shall we collect her vote then via the Zoom?
So Christine, if you want to type in the chat, if you approve, the consent approval for 1 through 8.
And just to confirm, this is for, just Alvin?
She just messaged I approve 1 through 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alvin pending Dell's figuring out what that entails.
So we would, do that vote at a different time for Dell.
No, it would be approved both pending figuring out, seeing what the policy is with that one. So can we vote then? We're good?
yeah, we're good, because we got a
Okay.
quorum.
And any abstentions? Any opposed? No. Okay, passed.
Welcome aboard. Not that you've heard that before.
Alvin, thank you so much for taking your time to support us. It gets messy sometimes, but it's all for a great cause. And we'll make sure, I'll get with you to make sure you're added to our board email
right.
distribution list, and get you up to speed on whatever you want.
Okay.
Board meetings are typically every third Wednesday at 6:30, but to be honest, I like this time.
Should we read your bio into the record just to embarrass you? Just I want. But I just wanted to share, since normally in the voting process, for parents and everyone, I just wanted to share with everyone, our new board member. And Alvin Balthazar was born and raised in Houston, Texas. He graduated from Ross Sterling High School in May 2005 and entered the U.S. Navy, attending basic training in Great Lakes, Illinois in August 2005. With 19 years of active service as a commissioned officer, he has served on 4 naval ships, deploying 7 times in the Asia Pacific and Middle East regions. He now serves as the officer in charge at Tactical Naval Readiness Group 3, Point Loma, California. Throughout his military career, he has earned the following awards and achievements: Sailor of the Year 3 times, Sailor of the Quarter 8 times, American Legion Spirit of Service Award for Volunteerism, Honolulu Pacific Federal Executive Board for Exceptional Community Service, Admiral Arleigh Burke Surface Warfare Operational Excellence Award, Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal 2 times. Alvin enjoys public speaking, fishing, restaurant tourism, and travel. He has 2 children that attend OTA. The oldest child recently graduated from OTA and is currently in high school. Alvin has been married to his wife, Ashley, for 17 years, and they have 4 children, so hopefully a future OTA child to add to the 3 that we already had. He received his associate's degree in supervision and management from Coastline Community College and bachelor's degree in general studies from Columbia College. And I just wanted to read that just so the parents could hear, and families, just a qualified board member. And then I just wanted to add, I think that just it's been identified that military families are an important aspect of the OTA community. So I think it's wonderful that we have a member of a military family volunteering to serve on the board. And I mean, I think everyone knows Ashley and Alvin to be one of our most active volunteer families in the school. Ashley has served in many volunteer capacities, including as a room parent, and has probably personally rolled up her sleeves and taken on the student volunteer responsibility for the entire middle school, organizing almost monthly community service projects for the students in all of middle school, including sponsoring annual school cleanups for the entire school community. And we've all seen Alvin roll up his sleeves in all of these capacities, assisting Ashley. So I just think it's wonderful to have someone with this level of strategic planning and experience joining the board, and a family that's so deeply committed. And of course, we all know Alvin Jr., and anyone that's visited E3 knows that he is a student who has gone on to high school and put OTA in the kind of light that we all want OTA to receive. And I recall Alvin Jr. winning the mathematics award at his 8th grade graduation from Mrs. Miller. So I just wanted to share, I think, an example of a family that really takes the 40 hours of volunteerism and does that tenfold as an exceptional OTA family.
Thank you, Judy. Welcome. All right, we're gonna hop into closed session. I will touch base with you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
All right.
Let us know when we're on.
Well, following the direction here, and I don't see you. Breakout room. Oh, it's on its right there.
Did I have that information sheet back?
Oh, yes.
What did you do with yours?
I
Passed them all?
Yeah, I passed them all off. That's why I got it back from you.